Hey there, everybody. Welcome in. Music's on, and we are ready to roll. Episode number 593. This is Three Guys Before the Game. It is our Baylor and Pitt game recaps. Yes. A little bit of a rough
Would you
weekend.
say?
Yeah.
Yeah, would you say?
I'd say.
Root for soccer.
Yeah, we're recording before soccer plays. Hopefully they can win the World's Championship later today. Women's basketball doesn't disappoint.
Does not.
They line up and just kick teams. Line up and beat them. Three Guys Before the Game, we're going to break it down. Brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By Gomart. Get that Gomart rewards card, paste it on your forehead, and when you walk in there, they'll just scan your head, and you can save and record points, which will save on food and fuel. A lot of people have started doing that. Go to Gomart.com to get the card, or just download the Gomart app. Just put it right on your forehead. They'll scan you. Three Guys brought to us by
Don't do that.
Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. A little bit chilly out on the marine craft today if you were to go out, but by the time the afternoon comes in,
It's going to be 60s and sunny.
it'll be fine.
Sun will warm you up.
A windbreaker. Three Guys brought to us by Tudor's Biscuit World. Start your day the Three Guys way. Start your day the homemade way with a Tudor's Biscuit. Happened to claim the best biscuit in the United States just last March.
Yep.
That Mountaineer won it over 32 other biscuit bakers. Three Guys also brought to us by Conley CPA Group. That Spreads on Stats segment. Conley CPA Group providing value beyond numbers. All right, let's go. As you probably know, if you are a regular, thanks for being with us. Thanks for enduring with us. We don't chat before we start recording, and we just let it spew. And so obviously West Virginia basketball got rolled in Pittsburgh back on Friday night, and then the Mountaineer football team falls at home to the Baylor Bears. So you're down to your last two games. UCF has been announced as a 3:30 kick at the stadium next Saturday. It will be Senior Day. And then you'll conclude on Thanksgiving weekend against the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. So what's it all mean? Time to start off with Hoppy's obvious observations.
Tony, number one, it was an odd game. That second quarter, 42 points scored in the second quarter and none in the third quarter, and 5 touchdowns in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the second quarter. Just an odd game. And then in the third quarter, just no points. And West Virginia's defense just putrid in the first half and then was much better in the second half until they just got worn down. The offense solid in the first half. I mean, if going into the game, if you said West Virginia will have 28 points at the half, you go, okay, I'll take that. I'll take that every day. And then nothing in the third quarter despite opportunities. You were given opportunities in the third quarter, could not capitalize. Garrett Green said after the game that Baylor defense made some changes, some things he hadn't seen. So West Virginia was ineffective then in the second half for the most part. Just an odd game, first of all. Second of all, and I'll leave the stats up to Brad. Second of all, home losses hurt more than away losses, and West Virginia has struggled more at home than on the road. And why? Because if you see a video of a car accident, it's one thing. If you witnessed it in person, it's different.
Well, that's a way to think of it, yeah.
And people invest time and energy and money, and they're there, and they see it. It is more of a it's more personal. And so it just is more debilitating fan-wise to have a home loss, especially the way that game went. The third point is, and this is not, you're going to complain about officiating. No, officiating obviously didn't cost West Virginia the game. But this is a comment about officiating in general. And that is, If, in fact, player safety is a concern, if, in fact, as we found out earlier in the season, when a player begins to slide, the play is dead and the ball is down there, then throw the frickin' flag, okay? I don't care if it's Garrett Green or a quarterback or a quarterback for any team. Any team. If you're going to do player safety, then do player safety and default to safety. The play is dead when the player begins to slide. And college football officiating needs to get its act together on that, because this is absurd. People get hurt. It's a dangerous sport, and they need to do better on that. They should get their, well, I almost said a bad word. They should get their stuff together on that.
Thank you, Hoppy, for those obvious observations. HOO, sponsored by no one, because what he says is absolutely obvious.
Everybody could have said it.
We need to get you sponsored, like someone that sells something that like everyone knows. Like,
you sell air.
Yeah. Brought to us by Air. Brought to us by Air. O2. Whether or not you know it, you really need it. But you knew that, of course.
Yeah.
Senator, after doing the autopsy, were the numbers as bad as the patient appeared to be?
Well, let's say this, and this is my obvious observations here. I think one of the more maddening parts of this season has been what I think showed up again last night, and it's just the inability to put everything together in the same game. You saw it against Oklahoma State, and that's really about it, Hop. I mean, you look in that first half and you're thinking, my gosh, where is the even a close facsimile of the defense that we saw the week before? They just, credit Baylor. They had a nice game plan. They saw where to attack West Virginia. They just kept throwing it to the flat and saying to your linebackers, we don't think you can guard. They couldn't, and they just kept marching down the field. And that defense looked like it had the first however many weeks of the season, 9 weeks of the season, couldn't stop anybody. But Garrett was back. Mm-hmm. And we had talked all last week about the way to go at Baylor. If you could run on them, you had a good shot to win. In particular, if your quarterback could scramble, you had a great shot to win. And it's why we thought on Thursday Garrett would be a great option. Well, guess what? In the first half, that was exactly true. You were running all over them, 221 yards rushing in the first half. Garrett was unstoppable, making seemingly every play, running, making moves. And so you were at least hanging with them offensively and couldn't get a stop. Okay, fine. If it's got to be 70-63, go try and win a shootout. You get into the second half and wait, hold on, what's this? The defense is making stops, and the defense stepped up and got Baylor stopped a few times to give the ball back to your offense that was almost unstoppable in the first half. And what happened?
Couldn't do anything.
Now suddenly the offense can't move it and can't go anywhere. Special teams that was so good against Cincinnati came against, and listen, these were two good special teams units on the year, so that was going to be a critical matchup, right? Oliver Straw has had awesome punts all year. There was one that was a bad punt. Well, what did Baylor do? They made you punish for that. They go down and score a touchdown. Kickoff returns. West Virginia had been really good in that category. Third nationally in opponent starting field position had West Virginia been. Give up a 41-yard kick return. What happened that drive, Tony? They go down, they score another touchdown. Mm-hmm. Couldn't get a stop when you needed it. So the maddening inconsistency continued. And again, I realize that's why your record is what it is. That's why this is an obvious observation. But it's the inconsistency, again, this time within the game, that cost you that game ultimately.
Right. Agreed.
Which leads to incredible amounts of frustration, because you see, okay, take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Like you said, hey, you got to stop. You got a couple stops on defense. Now take advantage of it. And you give the ball over on downs twice. Mm-hmm. Then you throw a pick, and you just peed away your opportunity to at least tie the game and potentially try to steal the game.
Yeah, and you just have to make plays when they present themselves. Again, I'm being obvious here. I get it. But that fourth down play, and Justin Robinson, we talked about him on Thursday. Man, he had been coming on and had started to put up numbers and made that really difficult catch when I thought he was targeted at Cincinnati. Of course, wasn't targeting, because anytime you think it's targeting, it's not, and vice versa, Hop. So Robinson was really coming on, and you have a great play call, and it's just that little in, and Garrett puts it right on the money, and Robinson had made so many difficult catches, and he just, you could see he sensed that there was an opening, and it happens, right? You look up, and he's ready to run, and he forgot the ball. That was a critical moment. You go in and score at that moment as the offense was clicking, and who knows what happens from there. It changes Baylor's approach. And that's one of the things that jumped out to me, especially in the second half. For a squad that was just chewing you up through the air, and Sawyer Robertson, apparently the greatest quarterback ever to play, he absolutely sliced and diced West Virginia. They had no answer for him. And I know a lot of the passes were underneath stuff, taking advantage of West Virginia's coverage in the flat. He was really good. Well, then the second half, what'd they do, Hop? They had that lead, and they just said, you know what? We're going to run it. We're going to take some time off the clock. And then West Virginia's run defense that had been so good all year didn't have the ability to slow Baylor down via the run. So really interesting offensive mindset switch from Baylor that worked in telling West Virginia, go ahead and try and catch up and score. Had you tied it, they may have had to switch their formula back, but instead you couldn't score. They just kept running it right down your throat, had success throwing it in the first half, running it in the second half. You lose the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll bust into the numbers more in detail, but you take a look at their two leading running backs. Bryson Washington averaged just a whisker under 7 yards per carry, and Dawson Pendergrass came in late, and he ran it 11 times for 68 yards. He ran it for 6.2. So when you go into a game and you say, okay, you've got to stop the run, those two guys average 6.5 yards per carry. Done.
But West Virginia's run was back. I mean, 262, 5 yards a carry. Garrett had 129. You would take that all day.
You would in totality, but again, you niche down in that. You had 221 of those in the first half. Like, you would have taken 221 for the game.
Right.
Had you told me Thursday that West Virginia got 221 and Garrett was unstoppable and scrambling, I would have said, I don't need to see anything else. That's a win. I don't care what the defense does. You did exactly what you had to do right there, and yet couldn't win the game.
You throw in the sack yardage, and they only ran for 41 yards in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
It went by the time, but he got sacked there. But regardless, you just weren't as proficient in running the football. All right. So what's it all mean? We'll get into that. What it means is, at best, you can go 7-5 in the regular season. And you got to win in Morgantown next week, which has been easier said than done. And then you got to go play at Texas Tech.
Which is always hard.
Lord knows. I mean, where are those guys at? I mean, who knows? Don't know, right? Anything can happen. Take a look at the results this weekend in the Big 12. Did you have Arizona pistol whipping Houston 27-3? Probably not. Did you have Kansas going up to BYU?
Yes, everybody.
Well, yes, actually, everybody that's ever placed a bet actually did have Kansas beating Baylor.
Well, and Arizona State is the surprise team of the league.
Arizona State goes into Manhattan, Kansas, lined up,
beat them.
Kicked the Wildcat right in the crotch.
They've had a great year. Picked to finish last in the Big 12 was Arizona State.
They're 8-2, 5-2.
Preseason poll, not having a good couple of years either.
No, off significantly.
Preseason pick number 1, Utah. 4-6, 1-6 in loop play after a 49-24 loss.
Not only preseason number 1, I think they were actually awarded the trophy. I think they took it out there based on what everybody was saying.
We had that game on yesterday watching it. I mean, Utah is just very un-Utah-ish. I mean, that does not look anything like what you normally associate with Utah.
So the league is doing what literally everybody thought the league would do in August.
Yeah.
Right? There's no clear-cut favorite. There's teams that you didn't expect to be good that are. There's teams that you thought were good that are not, as you just outlined, and anybody's available to beat anybody on any given week. You're seeing that play out.
Yeah. A lot of surprises. You know what's not a surprise?
What?
Not a surprise that Lou Wendell Marine Sales is the premier boat dealer in the state of West Virginia. You know why it's not a surprise?
Why?
Because they've been doing it for 50 years.
Ooh,
They're no fly-by-night operation. Not some guy with a big trailer selling a boat off the side of the road. They're in St. Albans. You can find them. Lou Wendell Marine Sales, the premier pontoon boat dealer in our state of West Virginia. They sell Avalon boats, which are 100% made and manufactured here in the United States of America. And they sell those G3 John boats, which are an absolute delight. In fact, we haven't said it publicly, but Brad and I are thinking about buying a G3 for Hoppy. Yeah, we're going to send him down. We're going to send him onto the waterways. So visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Toward the end of the season, great opportunities for you to get some great deals, because now is the time as you put it away for this year and get ready for spring, which will be quickly approaching. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. All right, you ready for a little music?
Sure.
You ready for do this?
Sure.
All right, what do you say we do this?
So I checked the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers. Here comes a heater. Let's jump into the analytics portion of the show.
This is Spreads on Stats. Spreads on Stats is brought to us by Conley CPA Group. They provide value beyond numbers. They are a complete service public accounting and consultation firm. They've got business clients all over our state, literally, and in surrounding states. And what they'll do is they will walk alongside you step by step in your business. Whether it's a big business, whether it's a small corporation, they can tell you how to best use your dollars. Business owner that doesn't want to deal with your accounting, you can outsource accounting and your CFO services with Conley CPA Group. I mentioned Lou Wendell, about half 100 years, almost 50. These cats getting ready for their 40th year anniversary next year.
Excellent.
Awesome. Local firm, experienced local pros. If you're looking for accountancy, Conley CPA Group.
Do you think they could make sense of the numbers from the game yesterday?
They'd have to probably bring in a couple people.
Yeah.
They go like, exactly how's this work?
Yeah.
Why'd this happen? Well, one guy has been studying it.
Spreads knows.
Spreads knows, man. What's going on?
Well, let's dive in. This is going to be, I'm going to kind of scattershot this. We'll be all over the place. So feel free to ask questions and interact throughout the presentation as we move forward.
Got it. Oh, Tony has
Sir,
a question.
caller, go ahead.
Will you also be doing the basketball numbers as well?
Yeah, so let's go through football.
Okay.
Let's put a bow on football, then we'll go into basketball and then do the basketball numbers.
I don't know if you can put a bow on it or a noose.
In the eye of the beholder.
All right, go ahead.
Sailors.
Hop, to your point, you kind of slid this in here, and you're right. That first half was wild, including the last 4:22 of the first half where there was 5 combined touchdowns. So, again, looked like we were headed to one of those shootouts like we saw in 2012. And then, lo and behold, 0 combined points in the third quarter, just as you drew it up. So, really bizarre. 673 combined yards in the first half. That went to 338 in the second half. West Virginia found a way to bring some pressure in the second half, but not much, guys. How about PFF credited West Virginia with just 4 pressures all night?
Wow.
4 pressures. So Sawyer Robertson was allowed to just sit back and throw. And again, I recognize a lot of those were just short out to the side where he's just swinging it out and they're just picking up yards downfield. But, man, 4 pressures in a game just isn't going to get it done. You mentioned that stat before the game. What was Robertson the last couple of years? He started 12 for 12 in the game last night.
Last year in Waco, he was 17 for 19 against West Virginia. So he started 12 of 12, which means he was 29 of his last 31 against West Virginia before throwing an incompletion in yesterday's game.
There was no pressure, and he was on target, and you can say, well, some of those passes are out to the flat. You know, they all count. They all count.
My point to that is this.
And they also got big plays.
Yeah, my point to that is this. Everyone always goes like, well, they're just throwing it out to the flat. I'm just throwing it out there. It's all just in there. Well, why the hell don't you do it?
Or stop it.
If it's so easy, well, go ahead and you do it then.
Well, and that's what's interesting in that first drive. Go back to the first drive for West Virginia, which again they've been really good in those scripted play drives to open games, and you saw it again. And Hop, we sat there and went, there it is.
Yeah.
That was a close resemblance of last year's offense where things were clicking. And as things are clicking and you're moving the chains, the playbook's able to expand and you can get more diverse. And you were throwing some short underneath throws and the things were working. And then drops started to come in. You didn't have the success running the ball except for Garrett. And, you want to talk about quarterback performance. 73% of your total offensive yards came from Garrett Green. There's got to be some more there, guys. It can't just be your offense as Garrett drops back and either throws it or takes off. There's got to be more guys that have to be available to make some big plays.
Hey,
so
Brad,
that was a challenge.
On that, Garrett Green coming off of a concussion to the point where he couldn't play for a couple weeks, had severe headaches, and to go out and to play the way he did in a loss, that's an Iron Man performance for the ages. Yeah, it really is. And it won't be remembered because you lost the game, but I mean, that was as gutsy a performance as you'll get from a Mountaineer ever. As I mentioned, those run numbers, had you told me on Thursday West Virginia would do that, I would think this was going to be a win. You had 11 rushes of over 10 yards or more. Would you take that all day long? 7 of those came from Garrett.
right? So his ability to take off was, unfortunately, came down to be about your only offense. Then those drops came at critical times, and you just couldn't overcome those mistakes and take advantage of the missed opportunities. And quite frankly, I think that's what you could have called the title of the show. To me, that's what that game was. It was a game of missed opportunities, be it drops, be it you get defensive stops and the offense can't take over, be it the defense couldn't get any stops in the first half, just missed opportunities all the way around in that particular game. Want to look at, how about this one? This has been a fun one to go to. This wasn't fun, though. Most important plays during a game. You know, what adds the most win probability?
Right.
For Baylor, their biggest win probability play, this was interesting how early this came in a game that was back and forth, but they added a nearly 14% win probability to that first 43-yard touchdown to Josh Cameron from Robertson to take the lead 14-7. Their second most, almost 13.5 win probability, came in the second quarter, 4 minutes to go. That started that 5-touchdown flurry. Baylor took the lead 21-14. That was the pass for 40 yards to Monterey Baldwin for a touchdown. So those were the two biggest. Here's what we were talking about when the missed opportunity plays. When you look at West Virginia's biggest negative plays for win probability,
Right.
third quarter, 2.5 to go. Garrett's pass to Cole Taylor in the flat. One of those short, should be easy passes. Pressure kind of blew it up. He had to throw it early. Cole Taylor with an unbelievable catch, and you land a yard short of the first down. Cost you 10% win probability in that game as you were driving. The second most impactful play on a negative perspective, 4th and 5 at the Baylor 35, incomplete pass on 4th down. You lost almost 10% on that one as well. So you lost 20% win probability on just those two failed 4th downs.
Sure. The pass to Taylor was impacted by a linebacker right up in his face.
Mm-hmm. Came right through on the right-hand side there as Garrett was flushed to the side. Want to look at some grades?
Yes.
What part
Sure.
What part do you want to say? Who do you want to see first?
How did Garrett grade out?
Good, 4th highest graded offensive player. The first three, and this would show you what the run blocking was in particular. Your top 3 grades were all offensive linemen. Nick Malone 1, Wyatt Milam 2, Remack 3, Jaquay Hubbard 5. Then Garrett was mixed in there at 4. Defensively,
Well, hang time out.
Yep.
Just give me, I don't need a full, just 30.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's that say when your offensive linemen are your best graded dudes about your skill people?
Well, again, you need the skill guys to make some more plays for you. There has to be, and I think some of those changes if you don't have those drops, right? Those were massive plays, right? You convert that 4th down that I just mentioned right there. You convert the 4th down in the first half with Justin Robinson. Some of those things start to change. I think that also tells you probably ran the ball pretty well, which you did, right? Busting for almost 300. That's what that tells me. Hudson was your 6th highest graded, right? Really has turned into your only consistent threat in the receiving core. That's got to improve. You got to find some more guys there. Defensively, this was interesting because it was some new names that you've seen mixed in there. Ben Cutter, your top-ranked defensive player. They played 19 snaps. He was in there a little bit more. Some of that was on that coverage, Hop, when they walked him out on the outside there. Dantes Fagan, number 2. Jaheim Joseph, 3. Reed Carrico, 4. He seemed to be in a lot of places. Sean Martin, 5th, highest graded Mountaineer.
Reed Carrico, 16 tackles.
Yeah. He was all over the place. He was credited with 5 stops. We talk about that stop stat that PFF does all the time, failures for the offense, although there weren't many in the first half, I realize. Okay, what else do you want to say? Rushing direction's pretty interesting because we talked about the leading rushers against Baylor, and a couple of their losses have been quarterbacks, and specifically quarterback scrambling yards. Well, Garrett put up one of the higher scrambling totals they've faced, 63 yards on 7 attempts, 9 yards per scramble right there. I mentioned 7 runs of 10 yards or more. He had 9 first downs rushing. Garrett did.
Jeez.
Okay, what else? Anything else you want to say? Those are kind of the most important ones. I mean, again, some of this is obvious observations that we saw. You look at Robertson's passing. And we talked about a lot of those going behind the line or 10 yards or less. Let's look at these numbers.
This will be interesting.
Stay with me here.
But how many plays did they have, whatever your definition is for big plays? I mean, they had some of those too. We talk about the short passes, but they had some big plays, right?
Yeah, the Cameron play that he mentioned that swung the win potential, the Monterey Baldwin 40-yarder, that really was just a huge touchdown. They really stuck one in on you there, and that was a missed assignment. There was a lot of painful punches thrown.
So here's I think this is just came to be the difference in the game. And yeah, those big plays were gut punches, but here's where they just ate you up. 21 of 27 on passes from either behind the line of scrimmage to 10 yards deep. 21 of 27. This one really jumps too. On passes behind the line of scrimmage, he averaged 6.6 yards per attempt. On passes behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
So that shows you, it's yak. You're just throwing it, and they're just clearing downfield, and you're just running right up there. I mean, that's 6.6. We've had seasons where West Virginia's quarterback was in the 4s for yards per attempt. He was 6.6 just on passes he threw behind the line of scrimmage. So again, one of those where what you saw is backed up by the numbers here. You already saw this.
Their downfield blocking was very good.
Mm-hmm.
They did a great job on receiver perimeter blocking / holds that weren't necessarily called. They did a great job on the outside. Well, they had some holds out there that weren't called, but ultimately they did win the battles on the outside. That's part of why that number is what it is. So he threw for 214 yards on those particular passes. 21-27 for 214 on passes behind the line of scrimmage or up to 10.
There you go. They had a good plan.
I mean, I could keep going, but that's the wrap. I'll give you one more. It is surprising, too, to go back to what I was saying, and this ties in the running game. You ran 88 plays against them.
Wow.
What if you tell me that on Thursday, I say that's a win.
There's a lot of deceiving stats. Here's one. You had 499 yards of offense. They had 512. For as bad as you think West Virginia's defense played, they only had 13 more yards, right? You wouldn't equate it to that. It seemed like a ton more. Penalties, they had 9 for 80. West Virginia 3 for 27. As Brad said, 88 snaps for West Virginia, 70 for Baylor. You ran 18 more, and you won time of possession by 4 minutes.
And that, you're right, you would take that until you add in when West Virginia, especially in that third quarter, drove but could not finish.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So what does the yardage gain mean? It means nothing if you come away with nothing.
Yeah, and in that first half where you really had the time of possession advantage, which again, that's how you would have wanted to draw that up to let your defense on side. The problem was they just kept scoring so damn fast on you. Their touchdown drives in the first half, 224, 222, 202, 13 seconds, 52 seconds. And again, a lot of those were the theme of this season has been when West Virginia has something that goes against it, a failed fourth down. I go back to the Iowa State, the Gallagher call that was overturned, then you miss the field goal, then they drill you for a touchdown. It seems like that happens so often, and it was here, where West Virginia would fail on a fourth down, and then within the next couple of plays, touchdown. Or the punt out of bounds. A couple plays later, touchdown. The big kickoff return, touchdown. When something doesn't go right for West Virginia, it seems like it collapses on the other side of you as well.
You talked about the speed of drives, and you mentioned that 5 touchdowns were scored in the final 4 minutes. Four touchdowns were scored in the final 2:26. 4 touchdowns.
5.
5.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 4 in the last 2:26.
4 in the first.
2:20.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought you said 4:22.
Yeah, but take a look at West Virginia's last 2 drives. They had a 26-second drive, and they had a 47-second drive at the end of the second quarter to bring you to within 35-28. Then what happened in the second half? First drive, you go 4 and out, and you punt. Then you go 7 for 39 yards, and you give the ball over on downs. You come right back, and now it's the fourth quarter. You go 7 for 26, and you give the ball over again on downs. And then you come back out, and you throw a pick on fourth down, and then that was it. So to your point, the lack of consistency, both offensively and defensively, it forms this incongruous mess that you can't win. Whereas last week, you had specials and the defense both playing well enough to win to offset the offense's anemic ability. But yesterday, you had an inconsistent offense, you had an inconsistent defense, you had an inconsistent special teams, and you know what it leads you to?
Guess what that means?
49-35.
Right.
And you're not getting what the coaches like to call complimentary football.
No compliment. It was uncomplimentary.
It was uncomplimentary, right.
Guys, here's the other thing that gets totally dismissed, as we just have, and it gets dismissed because they won, and they won what ended up being fairly easily. That decision by Baylor and Dave Aranda to onside kick, one of the single worst decisions I've seen in college football. They deserve to lose for making a decision like that. That was horrific. And West Virginia punished it and took advantage of it. But that stuff you can't let go in a game. That's one of those missed opportunities from a macro level that you get a staff that had done a pretty good job on you to make a brain-dead decision like that to onside kick that thing. I mean, what are you thinking right there? West Virginia can't stop you? And you're going to make that call, and then West Virginia scores, but then you can't win the game? We should have been leading the show with today's game, like coming in going, West Virginia won that game, and how about Baylor? How about that? That gets people fired when you make dumb decisions like that, and you couldn't win a game when that happened. That's what's frustrating.
You're up 2 scores at that point, right?
Oh, my God.
And you're being cute. You're being cute.
You too clever by half. Too clever by half. It was one of the worst decisions, and I think everybody you're right, Brad. If you lose that game, Dave Aranda's on the hot seat because you're going, what in the world was that about?
Okay, but then you have that. You punch it in, you get the score. That was the C.J. Donaldson run with just a minute 47 left in the half, right? And you're like, oh, look at that. How about they just let you back in the game? Now you got some life. But that's when then they bust off the 41-yard kickoff return, and they turn around and go 7 plays, 55 yards, and 53 seconds to score. So you were gifted an opportunity to get back in the game, and the defense couldn't get a stop there to get you in at halftime.
3 Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems. Business owners, if you've been putting off getting a new phone system, you know there are amazing amounts of new technology out there when it comes to phone systems, and Comax has those front and center. They'll come into your place of business. They'll do an inventory, a discovery, so to speak, as to what it is that you need. They'll best suit you, and they will give you a free estimate. Here's what it's going to be. You can purchase, you can lease, you can buy. Comax Business Systems. That's phone systems. That's like a fingernail of what they offer. They do everything from A to Z when it comes to business equipment. Plus, they can monitor your network and IT service as well. Visit ComaxWV.com. That's KOMAXWV.com. ComaxWV.com. All right, transition to basketball.
Well, I guess this isn't any more pleasant than that discussion just was.
Yeah. We'll get into textual healing in a little bit, but someone did say, hey, Tony, you said you thought that because West Virginia had experienced players that they wouldn't be overwhelmed by the environment at Pitt. And, I am surprised that they didn't handle it better. I thought that in the beginning of the game, some really tight shots went up. Some guys shooting the ball that shouldn't be shooting the ball that was uncharacteristic through the first couple of games. So I think it did get them a little bit more than I thought it would.
Yeah, I wonder, it felt to me as if it was too amped up. Because a lot of the shots, usually if you're nervous or overwhelmed, your shots are coming up shorter, you're not getting there. There was a lot of long shots. So I thought it was just one of those, again, you were going on the road with a group that hadn't played a lot together in what turned out to be a very good environment. That was a kind of a late arriving crowd there that ended up being a good crowd, a good atmosphere. Their students were loud. So that was a good road atmosphere as you would expect in that game. And it was just a lot of long shots. So I think the guys were amped up and ready, almost too ready to go.
I think that's a good way to put it. I think they might have been too giddy.
I don't think that was oh my God, we can't play in this environment. I think it was like let's go, we're ready, let's go. And it was too much because you saw a lot of long shots.
Can I give you who?
Sure.
Hoppy's obvious observation, sure.
The first thing is, basketball is more than any other sport. It's just, boy, is it streaky. And they come out and, I listened to you guys, and Brad said at one point, West Virginia's doing what they wanted to do defensively against those big guys. But then they make all their threes. So you can't do everything, right? You got to give up something. So you got a game plan and go, okay, well, they took advantage of it. They made shots and you did, number one. Number two is what teams are going to do, and that is take out Tucker DeVries and make somebody else beat you. That's going to be the plan until somebody else beats you.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
That's what I got.
Yeah. No, you're right. Spot on.
So, yeah, and this is, I know everybody loses their mind when you give this as an explanation, but basketball is more than any other. Make shots or not make shots. And West Virginia just struggled on the offensive end. And yeah, Hop, that's the point. If Tuck isn't having a good shooting night, listen, there's still other things he does. He's still valuable. There's going to be nights like last night when the other team just says, you are not beating us. And what Pitt did is threw two guys at him a lot. Every time he came off a screen or a dribble handoff, there were two guys that were out on him. In addition to Dunn's defense was really good. So he had a good individual game. But they were doubling Tucker. Tucker can still be extremely valuable. It's just incumbent upon somebody else is going to have to step up and score, which then forces the defense to say, okay, now we got a problem. We've decided to double DeVries, but he's good at distributing and finding the open guy, and now a Javon Smalls going off or a Toby O'Connor, and just name anybody. And then that's going to create some problems for the defense. They've got to adjust. And West Virginia just couldn't get that second consistent scorer. Although, quick note, we'll mention good performances. You know who did handle it extremely well?
Jonathan Powell.
Freshman Jonathan Powell was a dude. He just said, all right, fine, I'll take it over. Right, with 3 threes, had 16 points. KJ Tenner, another true freshman that especially in the second half came in and handled it really well. So if you go by your theory that if you're going to be really good by the end of your career, you probably show it early. I think both those guys have shown you a lot early that, hey, they're going to be pretty good.
And to your point, you're right. Someone has to establish themselves as a consistent second scorer for West Virginia. Like, it's an opportunity. Like, Darren could hang a sign up. Job opening, second scorer. Who's it going to be? Because you're exactly right. Tucker's going to see that people running at him all season long. And as Brad said, he has the tools. Like, some scorers don't have the tools to do anything else with it. He'll find the open guy, but the open person has to then finish it to get some of that heat off.
And I do think some of that is just a result of you've got to continue to play together. And basketball affords you this opportunity with more games. This group just hasn't played together, so they've got to get comfortable when roles change and Tucker goes from being your primary shooter or scorer to having to help distribute, then other guys just have to be able to step up and play. A couple other points here to the point of you were executing the game plan, and in each game, Hop, you can't take down everything. So you've got to construct your plan with what you think gives you the best chance to win, and then you've got to live with certain things going into that game. And this was a good game plan because you looked at what Pitt had done, and those guards, man, they go right at you in transition, in half-court offense. They want to go to the basket, and even if you get back on transition defense, they want to go right through you. So that was number one: stop transition offense for Pitt. Only got 6 fast break points. So you achieved that. So the job was to close that lane, force them to kick it out and take threes. Well, you did that, and they did that back to you. And what's tough is, guys, it worked. The plan was exactly what you wanted to execute. They ended up being hot from 3, which they hadn't showed all game. But then by the end of the game, they fell in love with that 3, and they landed about right where they were on the season. Finished 37% from three-point range. They were about a 35% team all year. It landed where it was going to land. It's just they got such a big lead in the first half, and your inability to make shots, you couldn't close it, right? You played fairly even in the second half with them, but didn't have the ability to close the gap. So you did what you wanted to do. They made some shots. The second part of that, we're going to talk about this all year. You've got to get a style of officiating that fits this team. And you definitely did not get that in this particular game. They end up with more free throws made than you attempted. We use that formula a lot. When that happens, you're probably not winning the game. That's number one. Number two, the part of that in that first half when it was decided that caught my attention, guys, is late into the first half, Pitt was shooting 60% of its shots were three-point land. Yet they had a big gap in free throw attempts. Those things usually don't work, Hop. If you're standing outside taking 6 of every 10 shots as a 3, rarely do you get to the line more than the other team. So I thought that was a sneaky number within the number that showed you're not getting the whistle that you need here, 1. And 2, I thought that started, Tony, on the very first play of the game.
Yes.
Very first play of the game. Amani Hansberry, they did a great job getting it to Hansberry on the block. He goes up, Hop. They have a defender, Diaz, comes over. There's a collision at the rim. No foul called on Pitt for the initiating the contact. Shot goes in. You're off and running. Okay, fine. You don't want to call it. It's going to be that kind of night. Fine. Let it go. Let it be physical. All of a sudden, the game is stopped. We're 5 seconds into the game. Game is stopped. They go to the replay monitor and decide to charge Hansberry with a flagrant, which was quite frankly, stunned me based on what the replay showed. But that changed the game right there, guys, because Hansberry then was behind the 8 ball all night in foul trouble, ultimately fouls out of the game, and that's a key component to this offense, especially against a team that's big. You want Hansberry in to be able to draw the defense out, and you can go to work. And you saw when he was in a couple backdoor passes, but it changes the ability for West Virginia to run its offense when he only plays for 13 minutes.
Yeah, officially, yeah, you're right. He plays officially 12 minutes, 5 fouls, and the basket that you're talking about, the only 2 points that he scores the whole game. So he's in and out, in and out, in and out all game long, and they need him on the floor, as Brad just said, to do so many other different things. So that certainly was painful, and it did occur within the first 40 seconds of the game, and it totally no, that's not the good thing, and so you had to battle. I do give credit to Eduardo Andre. He came in, he had to play 22 minutes, which is probably about 10 more than, on average he's going to play. He's probably a 12, 15-minute guy per game. He battled 4 for 4 from the field. He had 3 rebounds, but he does not give you that ability to stand out front and threaten the ability to shoot the ball, and as a result, that takes your offense out.
One last number here to go back to, and again, you don't normally say this in a game when the other team scores 86 points and made shots at the rate they did in the first half. I didn't think West Virginia's defense was bad in this game. Here's one of the examples. Pitt had 21 points scored on guarded catch and shoots off just 9 possessions of that. So they were 2.33 points per possession on guarded catch and shoot. So you were in position a lot. They had one of those nights.
You look at it, you know what you say? You made a shot. Yeah, there were several times, and the numbers prove that out. I mean, I'm watching it, and I say to myself, you can't defend that any better than you just did, and the guy made a shot.
How many times with under 10 in the shot clock, like you're guarding for the whole possession, you did a great job, and then they end up getting a basket on you. And so that's stuff that I think you continue to do those things. That turns into wins somewhere down the season, but it just didn't on this particular night, and that lead in that first half was so big you just couldn't overcome it. One other note on, we keep highlighting the defense of Harris and Sarah Harris on their point guard. Jalen Lowe came into this game averaging nearly 20 points a game. That was part of the game plan, is put Harris on him, eliminate him, make other guys beat you. Well, that's exactly what happened. You did. Harris locked him up 2 of 11 from the floor for Jalen Lowe. He just couldn't get anything going all night, but yet Dunn for them stepped up and had what'll probably be a career-high scoring night. He was really good.
Yeah, almost matched his age. He had 23. Needed one more basket. He needed one more basket to get up there. So a couple of things as I ruminated. Is that the right word? Ruminated over the game?
Yeah, probably.
Ruminated,
sure.
as I thought about the game, driving home.
Ruminated.
Yeah, so I thought I needed to put an N in there,
Yeah,
too.
you forgot your N.
So this is what I ruminated over with. The one thing that I got to keep reminding myself is that this is an absolute rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a remodel, right?
Right.
All we did was we're rebuilding the thing. And so everything is the first time. And everything is the first time for this team. And this was really only their third, true game. And we're starting from scratch. So now they've played their first road game. The staff has gone through the whole road process. They did stay overnight in the hotel, so they got kind of like that type of a thing. But it's you're starting from scratch, and there's just no easy way around it. You're going to have to grow, and at times it will be painful, and it'll be frustrating, and you'll show flashes, but this is hard.
It also gives you an indication of, and Pitt is pretty good. I don't know how good they are, but it gives you an indication of how difficult this league is going to be.
Yeah.
when you go on the road and play some of these teams.
I keep using the John Beeline analogy to this. John took over a team that was 8-20, and Darren's taking over a team that was 9-23. It's the same. You're starting, but like Darren didn't inherit Drew Schifino, right? And
He was a really talented scorer.
Yeah, who's a talented scorer. So you're starting it from zero, and so you're going to go through this process. It sucks, right? You have to go through it, and it sucks that you had to go up, and take a beating there by Pitt. But that's my old philosophy of nothing good comes easy, and that hurt, and you grow from it. These coaches are really, really good. Mm-hmm. They will analyze every speck of tape. They'll see what they need to do to put guys in better positions. They'll get a better feel every time they play. They'll get a better feel of what guys can and cannot do, and they'll squeeze every ounce out of the sponge that there is, and then you'll see what it is.
Agree with that, because again, the things that were there are the things that are going to be there all year. That effort, the defensive mindset there, and yeah, some teams make shots on you, but I agree with you, Tony. I think this ends up being, you'd rather not go up to lose to your rival by 20. I get it, but this is also one where you learn. Okay, that's how they tried to take away Tucker. Got it. Now here's the counter when that happens. So that stuff will continue to get better as the season goes on.
Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Tudor's Biscuit World. Start your day the homemade way. Our boy, Hoppy, he loves his Tudor's camo mug.
Yep.
It's a steel camo mug. You can go into any Tudor's and you can purchase that. That's 24 fluid ounces. Whether it's hot or whether it's cold, you get it. Once you buy that.
How do it know?
Yeah. Once you buy that, you go in any time to any Tudor's and they will refill it for the price of a small coffee or an iced tea. So you can fill it with whatever you want, and all you'll ever pay is the price of a small coffee or an iced tea. You just buy it once, and it saves you money forever. 24 ounce.
Might drive by there today then.
Tudor's Biscuit World. They happen to, I wonder how they're preparing. Like, are they prepping right now to try to defend their championship? Probably, right?
I would think.
Yeah, they won the March Madness biscuit bracket this year, and it was the Tudor's Mountaineer. Don't know if you know this, but that's packed with country ham, egg, cheese, and a crispy hash brown. Some call it succulent, the South's best biscuit, by Garden and Gun Readers Magazine.
Might just be like the Kansas City Chiefs. You just show up like we don't have to change anything. Here's the biscuit.
That could be too.
Ain't putting no new biscuit in there.
Like
the champ is here.
The champ is here. The champ is the champ until you unseat the champ. So,
boy, Champ was in the ring on Friday night. I got home. I watched the last 4 rounds of the Tyson deal.
I got educated yesterday on that from Brad because I was blissfully unaware, not of the fight, but what was really going on. I did not know the subtext of it.
Yeah.
You didn't either, from what I hear. You thought it was a real thing. I thought it was a real thing.
I thought Brad was rather rude in his characterization of me and my assessment of the bout.
What was I rude about?
Well,
I didn't catch
you
you
talking
being
about?
rude. Talking about the fight.
Oh, I said if Tyson would have won, it would have been one of the great sports moments.
You said one of the top 10 specifically is what you said. That might have been
top 10,000,
overblowing it for something that I had a preordained script. But
may have overshot that. Yeah. May have overshot it. So 2 things that we learned. Father Time.
No, we didn't learn it. You know what we learned? No, we didn't learn anything about Father Time.
Yeah, I did. I learned about Father Time. I just looked at Mike Tyson and I just saw your body at 57. Just can't function. But the other thing we learned is Netflix cannot do live streaming really well.
No, they struggle with
that. We
that.
got some NFL coming up, so they got to get that fixed.
Did you see they have reported today that there were 60 million people that attempted, but it's probably everyone trying 10,000 times each to get that damn thing off of 25% streaming.
Did like lock on the 25%.
I got home. I watched the last 4 rounds, and it finally opened up. I went, okay. Yeah.
I think what we learned was a confirmation of what's been said, and I include myself in this. There's a sucker born every minute. Looking at this going, I thought it was a real fight.
Yeah.
I thought it was, okay. And then Tyson, slaps him, and I thought, oh, boy, this is going to be a fight. And I didn't know it was a show.
Yeah. Here's something for you to think about. Time to settle the debate. Do holiday-shaped Reese's and Snickers actually taste better? There's only one way to find out here in this month of November. GoMart reward members can get holiday Reese's trees and Snicker trees. Buy 2, get one free.
Can you get Santa's boot?
Because nothing says seasonal spirit like devouring a chocolate tree before you've ever thought about putting up the real one. Become a registered Go Marts member. Take advantage of these deals.
Santa's boot.
Now, people don't know what you're talking about if they're not regulars. So last Christmas, we had a package of Reese's in here, and I said, oh, look what Reese's doing. They made this one into Santa's boot. And these guys say, hey, dumbass, that's a stocking. I went, yeah, I guess you're right.
Santa's boot. Look, it's Santa's underwear.
Oh, boy, they'll tell you what, they're pushing Christmas pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
They jumped in there pretty quick.
I see some folks already have their tree up.
Yeah, I don't think that's a surprise, actually, to be quite honest with you. I think because people want something positive.
Oh.
I think people are going like, because that makes them happy.
That's fine.
And I think they go like, okay, I'm just tired of all the other stuff that's going on. Put the tree up. Make me feel good. I truly do believe that.
That's good. That's fine.
Yeah. You know how we're going to make you feel good right now?
How? Oh.
Yeah, we're going to let you heal.
Whew, could use that.
Textual healing comes your way. It's sponsored by episode800.com. That's episode800.com. Coming up on our website, we've got our holiday gifts, and things are going extremely well. The guy that takes care of all that for us, Delightful Dave, reports in the following information. Sales are brisk. Popcorn flying off the shelves. It's made by Mountaineer Popcorn in Shepherdstown, and our Mountaineer Munch. We haven't entered it in any contest, but I'll guarantee doggone to you, it'd win. Popcorn, chocolate, and peanut butter in a marriage that is just oh so good. Also, keep this in mind. If you're a Three Guys business person, corporate gifts.
Oh, yeah.
We'll take care of you on corporate giftology. So if you're thinking about giving your clients some stuff, you could do it with our stuff at episode800.com. All right, this coming Friday night, we're going to have the Speakeasy.
Oh, is that this Friday?
Yeah, since it's the last home game, it would be the last Friday. You available?
Yeah, it snuck up on me. I mean, everything's sneaking up on me.
Well, here's good news. It's sold out.
Mm.
We had limited places, 100 people, and they still won't tell us where it is.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
Good. We'll let you know. We're going to put a bag over your head, and we're just going to bring you there on Friday. And we're just going to open it up and say, here you are, Hoppy. It's Friday night, 5 until 9. Hudson Clement's dad, Mike, will perform once again. Connection 304 beer will be served. And we're doing this to honor a great cause, a young lady by the name of Ava May, who's battling cancer. And folks that are coming will pay a $10 cover charge. That money will then be matched by us at Three Guys, and we'll make a donation to Hudson Clement's fund for Ava.
Very good.
And if people want to give more, they certainly can do that. So those of you that have been given the password who emailed in at info@episode800.com, we look forward to seeing you there. The beer, by the way, Connection 304, now at 3.89 ranking on Untapped. That's the beer app, which is very good. And I'm told, and I see a picture here that's being sold at the Pallet Bar in Tays Valley. So thanks. Also, a major announcement about the beer coming up.
What now?
A major announcement about the beer coming up.
Do you know what it is?
Mm-hmm. In December, and it will take place in January.
What?
What? Just settle. You'll be all right.
All right. Do you know where the Speakeasy is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You'll be fine. You have to go get your boy Chuck to drive you around. Brad, you think you should use Chuck?
Probably.
Uber Chuck.
Probably not a bad idea.
Mike from Leon. Or is that Leon, Hoppy? Leon.
Probably Leon. West Virginia, Leon? I don't think it's the French Lyon.
You don't think heavily
like Versailles?
Yeah. All right, here we go. During the Baylor pregame on the radio, I heard Tony talking about NIL and revenue sharing. He said Baylor outspends West Virginia 2-1 in NIL. Where on the internet can I go to find this information? And if this is the case, then what are we doing in this league? If we can't compete with the teams in this conference financially, then we have no business being part of it. We should move down to the AAC or the Sun Belt, even if they pay out less. I find this extremely embarrassing.
Tony, I'll weigh in on that, is that NILs are private entities, and Baylor is a private school. You can't find that. You can find out, the general public can't find out that information. It's not somewhere that is available to everybody. But you talk to people, you snoop around a little bit, you can get an idea. And you know that West Virginia is somewhere in the 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, something like that. Baylor, the thought is that they're about twice that, maybe more. Utah is probably twice what West Virginia has. And West Virginia would be in the sort of bottom middle, right?
Yeah. So a couple of things on this. Then thanks for the note, Mike. I kind of hit it a couple different ways. I can't say it enough that we're entering into this new world, okay, of funding. And so to answer your question, the Hoppy said, this isn't listed anywhere, but, schools within conferences are always talking to each other to try to get, how much do you pay your volleyball coach? How much do you pay your assistant athletic director in charge of external affairs? They all have the lists of what it is so that they know what it is, okay? So they share information, but it's not public. But when you talk to the scope of people that people talk to, and this has been difficult to get your hands around,
yes,
because in the beginning, everyone was just blatantly lying. But now, no, they were. First couple of years, people just say, yeah, they have $20 million, yeah. So now it's settled, right? It's finding its market. And I can tell you this. To this point, West Virginia's lost to one team this year that spends less in NIL than West Virginia. And that team is Iowa State.
Right.
And everyone else has spent more. Now, does that mean you should lose to the other teams that are spending more? No, not saying that at all. But to Hoppy's point, there's 16 teams in the league. And West Virginia is in that window of 12 or 13th in spending.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No,
Houston's probably on the bottom end.
Houston's on the bottom.
Cincinnati maybe. But then on the upper end, you got the Utahs, you got the BYUs, you got the Baylors.
Correct. So my point to all of this, again, I think this is the single most important thing that I've ever seen or been involved with in college sports, because we are just consider it like this, man. We're rewriting, if this were politics, we're rewriting the Constitution. That's what we're doing. We're going okay, Old Testament, the better way might be Old Testament, New Testament. The Old Testament was amateurism. The New Testament is professionalism. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's happening right today. And by July of this coming year, it's going to be in full effect. All right. So now, creatively, every school is trying to figure out how do they compete in this world. So, Mike, to your point, go to the AAC or the Sun Belt, absolutely not.
You'd be finished.
Absolutely not. Athletics for a university is, and they often say it, it's the front door. The second you drop down in your athletic conference affiliation, your entire institution is impacted in its perception as to what it is, like it or not. Now, the academics might not like that, but that's what it is. That's what it is. So instead of saying, oh, woe is us, let's run away and go down to a lower level, absolutely not. What you do is some way, somehow, and anything and everything is on the table. You have to figure out, how to develop a consistent revenue stream so that you can fund your student athletes, okay? So a lot of people at this point, are crazy, some screaming, okay, coaching change, West Virginia needs a coaching change, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I would say this to you. The fundamental issue to be corrected first and foremost is to make sure that you can go get MBP, more better players. Great coaches come from more better players. And that is what you have to address. Whether it's Neil or whether it's someone else, you have to be able to say, we can go to market and go buy these types of players. Until you can do that, you're going to try to be Davy and Goliath, right? That's what it's going to be. You have to fix that part first. What does that mean? Does that mean private equity? Does that mean what? You have to have a fountain of dollars so that you can compete in the world that you're living in. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. Do you have to be as creative as you've ever been? Yes. That's what this is all about.
Okay.
Baylor had a backup quarterback that didn't even make the trip this week that makes $750,000. They bought him from the MAC.
Oh, yeah, the guy that got benched, yeah.
Yeah, he makes $750,000. Okay?
But you can't afford it. West Virginia can't afford to do that.
Yeah, and Baylor spends over $7 million on NAL. West Virginia's like 3.7, 3.8, something in that world. Who's got more better players? You saw it. So, to your point, and that's probably more answer than you wanted, Mike, that's where we are. Now, does it make me like run away and go, oh, whoa? No. But you better be really, really creative in how you're going to figure out how to do this. And that's what Ren Baker and that's what they're trying to do is go like, okay, how can we do this? That's it.
And I'll just one other point. One, where it's headed is, and Brad, you've been in athletic administration, is the athletic department, Ren Baker, going to the institution, the academic part, and saying, you have to help us. We are the primary face of the university, and we generate a lot of goodwill for the university. The university has to do more to help the athletic side.
Texter, look, I've never coached football a day in my life, but I played quite a bit. That being said, it would seem to me that if your defensive secondary is porous, maybe you should try to pressure the quarterback. I am just about done watching Trey Lathan chasing slot receivers into the end zone. Your secondary is bad. Adding more people in coverage when you could devote more people to getting to the quarterback is asinine. Am I crazy? I feel more insane with each passing game. Signed by Jordan in North Carolina, by the way of Spring Hill. At times, linebackers do have to drop in coverage. That one yesterday, that was a running back, and Trey was there, didn't turn his head. But at times, you do have to drop. But point understood. Texter. And here we are, another belly drop home loss. I tried to be pissed about it. I can't anymore. Trust me, I fully understand the reality of our situation. We're stuck in a loop. Defense needs a complete overhaul. It's not going to be easy to go get a top quality DC with the fog engulfing the program. Vicious cycle. With the Ray injury, do we seem to get more than our fair share of these? I mean, I follow this pretty close, and I can't think of a team that's had 4 or 5 of these things in 3 seasons. It's not anyone's fault, but the bad luck's staggering. That's all I got. Have a great day, Sean and Raleigh.
Well, you hope Traylon Ray is okay and can come back from that. That was a rough looking injury. Yeah. Certainly thinking about him.
Terrible about that. Hey, 3 guys, this team has looked decent on the road. They're 3-1, and the loss was a borderline miracle at Pitt. Today's game dropped us to 1-4 at home against FBS. And that one win was a borderline miracle against Kansas. 4 losses are all by 2 possessions or more. Obviously, our toughest opponents have been at home, so that's a factor. But I'm Not sure that fully explains why home WVU seems worse than road WVU. Can you guys speculate? What do you think's going on there?
I don't know. Again, it could be opponent adjusted, number one. Number two, there's no particular rhyme or reason. Number three, it just has, as I said at the outset, it just has a bigger impact when you lose at home.
Yeah, I do think the bulk of that is opponent adjusted. You've had the better teams have been here at Mountaineer Field versus the road. So I think if you're looking for a reason, that's probably explains it more than anything else does.
Yeah. In other words, you beat Oklahoma State in Morgantown. You beat Arizona in Morgantown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you beat Cincinnati in Morgantown.
Yeah. But you got to play Penn State here.
Yeah. Hey, three
Baylor.
guys, in text, in game, win, lose, or draw. It was a great night for my little man, Bo, who turns a year old this week. I got to be on Mountaineer Field for the first time.
There we go.
Is that little kid credentialed? I mean, does he have a credential? Look at that. You know who that is, don't you, Brad?
Can't tell. Can't see.
That's Sammy Lusk.
Oh, that is?
Yeah, Sammy.
Nice.
Yeah, Sammy with baby Bo. He got on the field. Looks like is he in a stance?
I think he is. I think he's lining up at the guard position.
Yeah, he's cute. That's a great picture.
Right guard.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Ben from Ahia. Does West Virginia have the capability to become competitive revenue-wise in the Big 12? By all accounts, we're at the bottom in the NIL. Ren Baker's spoken about the challenges that they face with rev share. We were way ahead of teams like BYU, Baylor, and Colorado last year. However, they're now lapping us. Hope is the most important commodity in sports. I'm not sure that exists right now as it pertains to football. Texter, this has been a lackluster football season. Hopefully last night wasn't a precursor to a very long hoop season. It won't keep me from watching and cheering, but I hope we don't become the Rutgers of the conference.
Rutgers beat Maryland yesterday.
Yeah.
Lined up, beat them.
Yeah. The lawman from Fairmont in. Man, that was tough to watch. The defense starting to make the 2012 unit look like the 85 Bears. Let's hope we can get one more and go bowling. P.S. What's the dress code for Friday's speakeasy? I may be able to dig up my pinstripe soup from prom if we're going to go with a true 1920s theme. Hope to see you all next week. So speakeasy is what, Hoppy? We're in Prohibition. That's where people went to drink?
Right.
Texter, you know, at least the crowd had fun. The players tried real hard, and if this keeps us, we can look forward to more cheap tickets for home games. FBS games played at Mountaineer Field. The opponents are averaging 37 a game. West Virginia's averaging 23. Signed by Grant and Parkersburg. Zach from Timonium. Thanks again for reading my texts a couple weeks ago. Is it time yet? The stadium being empty at the end, hard for me to see. Understanding my class was special with Gino, Tavon, Bruce, Stedman. I feel bad for the students. They've got no idea what Mountaineer football can be. We're in the worst drought in a long time. Why are we wasting time not making a change? I want my kids 3 and 6 months old. No, kids 3-year-old and 6 months. That'd be hard to do at 3 months and 6 months.
It would be.
To know the Mountaineer football team I knew. I hope we figure it out. Thanks for reading my text. Well, I think one of the answers to your situation there, Zach, is Gino, Tavon, Bruce, and Stedman.
Pretty good players.
What did they do after they left here? They played in the National Football League. MVP. You got to have more better players. Right? You know, I was thinking last night after the game, you'd never get a Tavon Austin again, would you?
Why? I wouldn't say never.
The money that other schools would come at him with now, it's no longer like, hey, we're gonna give you a scholarship. Now it's gonna be like,
you know, that's why that moving inside, you know my stance on that. I've been saying it since the day this came up. I'm interested to watch how the moving of the revenue share inside, does that help to normalize it a little bit within teams in your conference? And that's part of it, because at that point, at least you can legally put some of your university's resources towards the paying of players rather than depending only on outside, which we know that's a tougher road to hoe here in West Virginia. So when it comes in institutionally, and you can, again, I know you're going to have to cut costs other places. You're still going to need private fundraising to come into the MAC to be able to shift over, but you can use some more of your institutional resources, which probably helps normalize the spending across college sports, which is a lot of reason why that's coming forth.
Do you think, Brad, that when you do that, I understand what you're saying. I think it's a valid point. When you do that, though, is it just going to, will it help normalize, or will it just be the schools have more NIL, like, okay, we have this and the NIL?
Well, there's some of that, but there, again, as we've often said through this, you just didn't know about it, but that's always been happening, right? Certain schools have always paid their guys, whether it's been legal or not. I think when it comes inside, what you're looking at is across the Big 12 normalizing to some extent. Yes, are there going to be times when certain schools have donors that can go out and buy one extra player when they need? Yeah, that'll still happen, but hopefully it creates a more level process throughout. I think it would help West Virginia to have institutional resources available to it rather than simply depending on outside entity while also needing that outside entity to contribute to your internal resources, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
Another thing that will come into play here, and this will become perhaps one of the most important positions in a football or a basketball program, and that is a true recruiting and personnel department. You cannot make mistakes. The schools that have the best evaluation of prospects, whether they be coming from the portal or coming from high school, they will be an absolute key to your success or your failure.
It'd be interesting to see, and again, you can't access this data, unfortunately. It'd be interesting to see how many busts there are this year. I mean, how many, because nobody knows what you're supposed to be doing exactly. Sure. There's no formula like there is in the NFL or NBA, so that how much money was spent on players that are...
Oh, people talk.
Okay, people talk, but it'd be great to have the spreadsheet, which you can't. No,
I think you're always going to miss, right? Pro sports teams miss all the time. They draft guys and they turn out to be flubs. You're not going to get away from that. But to your point, they will learn, like, from their mistakes. Okay, do this, don't do this. Yeah, that's happening.
Okay,
how you spend your dollars will determine your ultimate success or failure.
It's also why, though, there is still a piece for development and retention.
Sure.
Especially in a place like West Virginia that's always had its success based on development. And again, I know it's a different world, but that's still an important part of it. If you can't just outspend like in Ohio State with that reported $20 million, you've got to be able to get guys in and build them and then retain those as you move forward too. So that's going to still be important moving forward.
Absolutely will be. In West Virginia, you need to become a great development area, and then retention is key.
So by the time a guy is here for his third year, you go, okay, you've been developed, now we can pay you this, and maybe the guy would be reluctant to leave because he's been here for a couple of years, right?
Yeah, and again, you've seen that with West Virginia on the offensive line part of it, where you got Zach Young developed up and he turned into an NFL guy. Wyatt Milam develops up, and then you sprinkle in, then you go to the portal and put in a Doug Nestor. You have a Remack that has grown up on the line, just to name some current examples. That's still going to be extremely important. Then you can supplement with some of your dollars for some skill positions or some key defensive parts if you've got the base there.
Correct. And also, it's your environment. And kids will stay if they feel tremendously comfortable and loved.
Many will.
Yeah.
Some
Not
will.
everyone, but if you build that in there, right? Texter, I don't know what to say about, well, I'll give you an example. Women's basketball, right? Markella gets here. He keeps 6, and then he loses just 1 that went down a lower division. Like, he did a great job in retaining his players. Texter, I don't know what to say about Baylor other than I'm greatly disappointed. I think I'll order some Mountaineer Munch, game day grind. I know that'll cure my blues. Positive note, I'm impressed by the women's hoop team so far. Rifle team, another elite season. Men's soccer, I hope they make a deep run in the NCAA tournament and win the world championship on Sunday. Men's basketball, rebuild mode, but I feel like they will surprise people this year. Jeff Goldsboro, North Carolina. Texter says, not the greatest week for West Virginia sports, so I decided to share a recent West Virginia connection. It's actually my 10-year-old daughter's. We went trick-or-treating, Chicago suburbs, some friends, and she decided to go as the Mothman. Most people asked what she was, and when she told them, they just gave her this like weird look or, oh, okay, that's nice. However, she rings one bell at a house. Guy opens the door, looks at her, laughs, turns out around and shouts into the house, "Hey, honey, you got to see this. It's Mothman." She lights up, tells him no one else knew who she was. He says he grew up in Henderson, West Virginia. That's Mason County. So, of course, he knows who the Mothman is. She says, "Oh, my dad went to West Virginia." He says he did too. Short conversation involving the lack of a Tudor's and a Go-Mart in Chicagoland, among other things. Much too long for my daughter, who wants to get back to candy acquisition. We realized that the two of us lived a floor apart from each other at Summit Suites during the late 90s.
Of course they did.
So it just goes to show, always a West Virginia connection, and you never know where you might run into the Mothman.
Good story.
Texter says, congratulations to the WVU cross-country team. They won a world's championship, didn't they, Brad?
Kayla McCabe again came through.
Coach Clary, congratulations to all you guys. Shout out. Texter, I know there's 2 games left to be played before the evaluation of the football program. We could still be 7-5, which would be a huge disappointment, but certainly not terrible. I think someone wise, could it be the Hopster, said this will be assessed based on the totality of the season. One thing to consider, we've now lost 4 at home this year, average of 17 points, closest by 12. We've been almost non-competitive. How can you sell the program to potential ticket holders and donors? Texter says, Neil reminds me of the little Dutch boy Hans Brinker trying to plug holes in the dike with his finger to prevent the inevitable disaster. Plug one and another one appears. It seems like a futile exercise. Was that Hans Brinker? I thought he was a roller ice skater. Hoppy?
Let me
check that out.
All right.
Texter, Paul from Tampa, wanted to say how impressed I continue to be with Preston Fox and Huddy Clement. No matter the score, what the situation, they get it done. Does any punt returner have surer hands or a better first step than Preston? Wasn't long ago we cringed at every punt return opportunity, a disaster waiting in the wings. Now it's one of our best situations. Eric in Mineral County, some offensive stats that are concerning regarding the third quarter. Last 4 home games, third quarter alone, offense has scored 3 total points.
The little Dutch boy who plugs the holes in the dike with his finger is featured in the novel Hans Brinker or the Silver Skates, but I'm not sure they're one and the same.
Huh. So Brinker did skate.
Yeah, Brinker did skate.
Okay.
But I'm not sure Brinker is the – I don't think Brinker is the plug the dike guy.
No, he works for the paint company, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Isn't he on the can of paint?
Silver Skates appeared in America.
Can't help you there, boys.
By the time we come back on this said program, the Mountaineer basketballers will have played a game, so we're going to skip a preview on the Iona Gales.
Need to get back at it.
And we'll blow in here on Thursday. So they did their Gales. Blowing in there. Just trying. And Thursday we'll recap the Iona game, and we will preview the UCF game, which again is a 3:30 kick.
We're recording Sunday morning, early line out from DraftKings, West Virginia, a 2.5 point dog to UCF at home. So I think, if I'm right, I'll check this for next week. I think that becomes the 7th consecutive game that West Virginia will be an underdog in. 3-3 in its previous 3 games, all underdogs. So you're fighting uphill there. Also still looking for that 6th win. Remember, your win total was sitting, 5.5 this season? 6.5? So you're right up on the edge of that win total.
This Brinker was not the boy with the finger in the dike. It's often confused. The boy with the finger in the dike apparently was named Peter.
Huh.
But Brinker is, but he's the skates
Something
kid.
to do with a Dutch boy holding that thing up that wall. I'm not sure. We'll get it. We'll have that solved too.
It was a story within a story.
Sure. 3 Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By Go-Mart, get a Go-Mart rewards card. Go to gomart.com for the details. Just download that Go-Mart app. Just walk in there, just wave that card around. They'll just basically throw money at you, plus hit you in the head with a big bag of Fritos. 3 Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They'll sell family fun. That's what they do. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com.
If that boat springs a leak, just
get the Dutch boy.
stick
He's available.
your finger in it.
3 Guys brought to us by Tudor's Biscuit World. Start your day the homemade way. Tudor's Biscuits. Go for about 6 of those right now. And Spreads on Stats by Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond numbers.
And who's still looking for a sponsor? Air. Sponsored by Air. Everybody needs it.
We get a respiratory company. Get to sponsor your thing.
No, I want the like those things at the gas station.
Yeah?
You have to put in like $1
Yeah,
to
air
put air
compressor,
in your
yeah.
Air compressor. How about that?
Yeah, we could do that. All right, there's a key. All right, special thanks to producer Ethan Collins.
Oxygen.
Ethan, is he decked out in Cleveland Browns gear today,
Oh my
Brad?
gosh,
Appeared that way.
Looks
he's
like a
all Browns.
cartoon, doesn't he?
Appeared that way.
Had a hat on. He had a hat on, a sweatshirt on, Cleveland Browns pants, a parka, Cleveland Browns shoes, Cleveland Browns socks.
Long-suffering Browns fan.
I don't quite understand it all.
He's all in.
Yeah, I'd say he's all in. Got a tattoo on his face with the Browns thing on there. We're out. See you.